How you doing? Welcome to the MaxBang. My name is Max, and I like to record podcast-style coffee talks. MaxBang is a half-hour hangout, so grab a cup of coffee, take a seat, and has your mother. Today, as you're getting settled in, I want you to try something new. I want you to just go ahead and click the like button, the thumbs up button right now. Save everybody some time. Helps me a lot. I know I've been tracking this a little bit, but views are yo-yoing on these, so if we want to keep them going, we got to keep our dicks up a little bit. Your assignment is, if you are eating something right now, write in the comments below what you are eating. Make me jealous. Brittany just made banana bread, so you can't make me that fucking jealous. Humble brag. And if you're on the treadmill, great job. Keep her going. And if you're driving somewhere, keep your eyes on the road and drive a little bit slow. It's funny, I was talking with Brittany about this the other day. There's never a reason to whip drive that fast anymore. When you're a little kid, it's fun. You go super fast. Little kid meaning 16. You drive super fast. It's a little fun. It's a little scary. It's a little dangerous, but that's all in good fun. You're young and invincible. Once I used to drive a lot for my old job. I was very, very confident. I knew Boston, the greater Boston area very, very well. I was an excellent driver because I logged the hours, and I was doing it day after day, and my job required me to do that. I used to drive really fast, slightly recklessly, but whatever. Once I got into an accident, I got into a pretty bad car accident. I was driving straight. Somebody blew a stop sign, T-boned me, crushed the inside. If I had a passenger, the passenger would be dead. Thank God he hit me on the passenger side, not the driver's side. Crushed the inside, picked up my car, slammed it on the other side of the road. So if you're imagining I'm driving on the right side, we landed with my wheels on the far side curb, if that makes sense. So I'm driving, T-bones me, picks me up, slams me down, a full sort of lane difference to my left. So it's pretty bad. Everybody was okay, thank God. It was in an area that I knew very well, so I knew that he had to stop at the stop sign, and so I assumed he would, which is a huge mistake. When you're driving, you have to assume that everyone else out there is trying to kill you. That's driving tips with Max. After that accident, I don't drive fast anymore. I really don't. I drive like an old grandpa, and I feel like it's just safer. And I guess to my earlier point, you can't. Once you punch in your thing on where you're going on your GPS or whatever, and they give you the time, guess what? That's how long it's going to take. There's no, if it says 22 minutes, you're going to get there between 21 and 23 minutes from now. There is no beating the fucking time. The only time you can really shave serious minutes off something like that is if it's an hour plus drive and there's a lot of highway. If you do that, then you can shave off maybe 5 or 10 minutes, maybe. But even then, fucking 5 or 10 minutes, who gives a shit? Come on. I used to do that driving back and forth. I went to college about an hour and a half from where I grew up in my parents' house. So I could get door to door would take me about 90 minutes. The fastest I ever did it was 1 hour and 10 minutes. It was at 3 a.m. I was tripling the speed limit. It was a fucking nightmare. I almost died 5 times. Whatever. It was fun. Please, please, please drive slow. Cars are incredibly dangerous. There's no reason to drive fast anymore. Unless you're a fucking psycho. Anyway. We should probably do a whole episode of driving horror stories. I've gotten into a couple of accidents in my life. That T-bone one was far and away the worst. The first one I ever got into was I was driving in Harvard Square, which is in Cambridge, Massachusetts. It's kind of a sort of it's an area around Harvard. a bunch of shops and stores and restaurants and stuff like that. And so it's a lot of kids walking around. So generally you're not going that fast. I was going less than 5 miles an hour. I was sort of drifting from one stop sign to the next stop sign with a bunch of pedestrians. You have to sort of stop and start. I looked over and I saw my friend, and I was waving to my friend Eddie. Hey Eddie, what's up, buddy? Bang. I very, very, very slowly like rolled into the person in front of me. We both got out. He looked at his car. It was like totally fine. My car was like, the headlight was completely smashed in because where I hit his bumper. He was like, what are you, 17? I was like, yeah. He's like, okay, well, you're an idiot. So see you later. And that was the first car accident I ever got into. Anyway, please drive safe. I don't know if anyone's driving anymore because of COVID, but if you are, please drive safe. Let's see, what else did I learn driving? Man, there was a good couple years where my job required me to drive around a lot because I would have to go to different properties. I worked for a real estate company, construction projects, building projects, different buildings around the city. I would have to drive around to different buildings. So some days, my whole day would be me in the car. I got very good at eating while driving. One trick is if you get chicken nuggets and you need the dipping sauce, obviously, you drive with your left hand and you have the nuggets in the passenger seat, and then you hold the dipping sauce in your thumb and pointer finger on the top of the steering wheel. So you're holding the wheel with your 3 fingers and obviously your knee. You can take a nugget, dunk, eat, and the dipping sauce sits on top of the steering wheel. I found that to be the best way to do it. And then obviously if you don't ever make a turn, you just go straight. If you get a burger at a drive-thru or a chicken sandwich or whatever, you're at the drive-thru and the thing is too hot. Pro tip, as you're driving, hold the burger in your left hand, unwrap it about halfway, open your driver's side window, hold the burger very tight, and stick it out the window. I don't know if you've ever had some hot soup or anything, but when you blow on it, cools it down. Guess what the air is doing outside? Blowing on your burger, cools it down pretty quickly. Really high level move. The only drawback is once in a while you get a bug in your burger, but who cares? It's protein. Come on, whatever. What a world. What a fucking life I've led. I feel like I've led like 9 completely different lives. Anyway, this week I wanted to talk about, I was struck by something very specific this week. If you have any driving questions, please let me know. I have a million fucking driving stories. This week I was struck by a couple of things. One, it's a lesson that I've learned before, but I had to relearn it, and it merits retelling. We were doing an episode of the fitness podcast I do called Total Fit Heads. I do it with Ali Spagnola. It's on Spotify. It's on this video version's on YouTube. If you look up Total Fit Heads, we talk about fitness stuff. 2 weeks ago, we interviewed a sleep expert. We interviewed a gymnast, bodybuilder, all sorts of really cool fitness stuff. This week we had a CBD specialist. Gave us a bunch of CBD. I don't know if you take CBD. I hadn't traditionally, but here we are. He was an interesting interview. Opinions on CBD. I'm still like sort of undecided. What was interesting about the podcast, however, was he's on East Coast. He's in Jersey, I think, or Pennsylvania. And what was interesting about the podcast was I had to wake up early to do it because he's on East Coast and we're on West Coast in 3 hours and blah, blah, blah. And I'm also a slug, so I get up late anyway. So I had to get up early, do this podcast. I'm not typically a big into CBD as much, so I wasn't like super excited just because it's not like a prior interest of mine. And I just sort of woke up in a bad mood. I was bummed. I wasn't like dying to do this. I woke up, get all my shit set up, sit down, do the podcast. What we do is we do a video podcast, so we generally video chat somebody, and then we sort of small talk, and we say, is there anything you want us to talk about? Is there anything you don't want to talk about? Blah, blah, blah. And then we hit record. So he goes, so we say like, hey man, how's it going? What's new? Or like, what's up, dude? And he goes, man, I'm just so blessed. And I'm in a fucking terrible mood, and I'm like, my life sucks. I don't have a private spaceship. I don't have any, whatever. I'm fucking up. I'm in a bad mood, and this fucking guy is just like, man, what a great day. I'm fucking so blessed. I got a great practice. I just had a nice breakfast with my daughter. Like, I can't wait to talk to you guys. I'm such a big fan. I love spreading this, like, this guy believes in CBD, and he believes that it helps people, and it helps with their chronic injuries, chronic pain, or whatever. And he's like, I just love talking. What a fucking great day. I'm so blessed. I just remember thinking like, damn, I'm fucking blessed too, dude. I was in such a fucking bad mood, but like somebody pointing out how great life is just fucking completely slammed me into like, dude, what are you complaining about? What are you in a bad mood for? You're kind of tired. You know what I mean? Like, what? Shut the fuck up. That's happened to me a couple of times, but every time it has happened, it's just such a great little reminder, I guess, or like a little like, hey, fuckhead. Get your shit together. You're in a bad mood? Who cares? Get in a good mood. Bang. It's that easy. One time it used to happen all the time growing up with my barber. My barber was one of the greatest guys I've ever, he's still around. I don't go to him anymore because he's 2,000 miles away. Frank Guarino, one of the greatest barbers of all time. He had a basement barber shop. And I used to go in there and I'd say, he'd say, how you doing? How you doing, Max? Hey, Max. Hi, Max. How you doing? I'd be like, I'm all right. How you doing? And he'd be like, fantastic. And it took me years because I'd be like, how the fuck is this guy doing fantastic? I'm doing terrible. I just said I'm doing okay to be polite. How the fuck is he really doing fantastic? And I finally came to the conclusion one day that maybe he's doing fantastic. Maybe he isn't. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't even know. But you know what? He says he's doing fantastic, and I bet it leads to him doing fantastic. I had another. I know these stories are repetitive, and it's the same shit over and over again. But they're so interesting to me. I don't know why. I had another one where I have a mailbox. That's what I want to talk about. I'm gonna write that down. I have a mailbox in. Once I started doing YouTube videos and stuff, people were like, "Hey man, we want to send you stuff. Can we mail you stuff?" And it was people who wanted to send me products. It was people who wanted to send me like, I don't know, just whatever, fans, businesses. It made sense for me to set up a mailbox that wasn't my home address. I didn't want to give out my home address. I still don't. For years, I had my life set up in such a way that there was no way to track my home address, which, that's a whole other set of stories. But I had, some mini crazies come after me, or some mini brushes with crazies, and I was like, I'm not going to get killed in my sleep by a crazy person, or I'm going to try not to, knock on wood. So anyway, I set up a mailbox, and it's this guy. I looked at setting up a P.O. box, post office box, but now I'm so glad I didn't, because the post office is in fucking shambles. And it was easier for me to do a private mailbox than a post office box, just for reasons. Look it up yourself if you need to. So anyway, I go to the mailbox every week, every couple of weeks, whatever. I see the same guy. Lovely, lovely guy, Pablo. And I go, hey, Pablo, how you doing? He's like, great. How you doing? Great. Get my stuff, get my packages. Weirdest thing I've ever received. Didn't Definitely the used condom, because it's happened multiple times. That one's not super fun. Somebody sent me some Japanese cereal one time. That was really cool. Anyway, Pablo goes, one day, getting my mail, and I go, "How you doing, Pablo?" He's like, "Man, I was just struck by how great my life is." And I'm like, "Go on." I'm like, handful of fucking envelopes and shit, and I'm like, "Yeah, let's hear this." And he's like, "In my country," and I feel like a total asshole because I don't know where his original country was. He was like, "In my country, I got into like some real trouble. My family got into some trouble, and essentially I had to like escape the country because the new regime that took over was really mean to me and my family, and I was scared for my life, and I just sort of ran. I got the fuck out of there. I came to the United States. I literally had fucking nothing. I had absolutely nothing. I worked odd jobs. I couldn't get a real job because I didn't have proper documentation. Or maybe he did, but he couldn't, he didn't have any connections or something. I can't remember. But he was, he was in a real tight spot. He met a guy who had previously had the mailbox business. And the guy was like, "Do you want to take it over?" And he was like, "Yeah." Bought it from him for an inordinate amount of money at the time, proportionally at the time. He was like, as soon as I bought it, all this shit fell through. Like I owed so much money that I didn't have. And I ended up just like sleeping in the attic of the mailbox place. He showed me like some crawl space, and that was like his bedroom. And he was like, I was eating like a can of tuna, or like fucking nothing for days because I didn't have any fucking money. I was like scraping by. He sort of put some things together. He figured out a way to make the mailbox thing work really well. And he was like, "Yeah, man, now I have like a home. I got a nice life that I carved out for myself." And like looking back on it, like I was so fucked essentially. And yeah, it struck me again as like, damn, dude, that's amazing. Like, I'm so happy for you. And I'm also happy that like, you changed your life, you got all this shit together, and you can look, that says a couple of things. One, if you're in a bad spot, you can work your way out of it. Two, like, just appreciating what you have and not like longing for other shit. Like, I don't know. It was really, really fun. So I'm struck. So I guess what I'm saying is, how am I doing? I'm doing fucking fantastic. And guess what? You are too. And if you're not, just say you are. And then we'll see what happens. Anyway, that's my fucking mini. Let's get our happy smiles on. I'm sure I'll be depressed in like 2 hours. That's sort of just how it goes. Run-ins with crazy people. Let me know if you guys want to hear some crazy fan stories. Happy to do that next episode. Just let me know in the comments below. People mailed me a bunch of cool shit. Once they figured out I like Spider-Man, I started getting a ton of fucking Spider-Man stuff. Yeah, a lot of people mailed me their underwear. Also a weird one. A lot of people mailed me their pictures of them nude, which is really fun. A lot of people liked to send me letters, which is weird. I mean, I loved it. It was very flattering. I loved reading them. But I guess it was weird in a sense of we had email and Twitter and DMs and shit like that. But to be fair, I read all the letters. I don't read all my tweets or DMs or emails or whatever because there's just too many. And you filter them, and there's a spam filter, and who knows. And anyway, so it was fun. I'm glad I still have the same mailbox. Still supporting Pablo. If I could, I would go to my old barber, and and I can't wait to support the CBD guy. So anyway, I hope you're having a fantastic day. Excuse me. I did want to talk about. Man, I got a lot to talk about today. It's probably because I've had too much coffee. Coffee. Today we are drinking Trader Joe's dark roast. Gotta tell you, really, really good. Really good. Generally, I'm not a big fan of Trader Joe's. Just because growing up, we never had one, and it was always like the super fancy one. I suppose Whole Foods is now the super, super fancy one. And Trader Joe's is more of a non. I mean, it's not that it's not a chain, but it's less of a chain, I suppose, or it's more of like it's not Stop and Shop or Stop and Shop, Star Market, Vaughn's, Ralph's, whatever. We used to have a Red Lion, or we went to a Red Lion once in North Carolina, and I was like, what the fuck is this? This is bizarre. Where's the Star Market? And it was like, it never occurred to me that other places would have other stores other than what I grew up with. Way to go, Max, you fucking meatball. Anyway, Trader Joe's coffee, exceptional. Exceptional. It was very good. It's very good. Dark roast. Highly recommend it. Went and got my fantasy football trophy engraved today. Champions. I've won this thing 3 times out of the 8 years we've done this. It struck me that we've been doing this fantasy football league for 8 years. Do I like fantasy football? Yeah, it's all right. It's kind of annoying. Do I like having a thing that keeps a group of friends together for 8 years? Yes. Do I like having an excuse to text somebody that I have nothing to say other than, hey man, great game last week, or aha, kicked your ass in that game last week? Yeah, that's probably the biggest value of this. Well, the second biggest. The biggest, obviously, is winning and rubbing it in all my friends' faces. Those fucking losers. That's fantasy football. Having an excuse to text someone is something I really do like having, because I like keeping in touch with people. This week I wanted to talk about 2 things, short amount of time. Number one, one thing that I've noticed lately is when, at least on social media, let's talk about the world for 3 minutes because I want to get this off my chest, but I hate getting serious. Just because I wake up and check the news, it puts me in a bad fucking mood. It's like the opposite of someone telling me they're doing fantastic. Because it's just fucking horrible news. And everything sucks, you know? One thing that struck me lately is, it's super frustrating, is when someone says that they're hurting or they're suffering. It takes some courage to come out and say that in this world today. Because everyone wants to appear like they're doing great, especially it's the Instagram world. Everyone wants to be on fucking private boats and, in Vegas or whatever. I mean, obviously none of these things exist anymore, but everyone wants to seem like they're doing really well. So to come out and say like, hey, I'm fucking hurting right now, it takes some courage. One thing that I don't like is when someone says like, I'm so sad because I lost my job, for example. And somebody else will come out and say, instead of being like, oh man, that sucks, like I'll keep my ears out, and if I hear anything, I'll let you know. What commonly happens is something that's, I don't know what it's called, but someone else will say like, oh really? You think you're suffering? I lost my job and my fucking dog died. And someone else will chime in and be like, really? You lost your job and your dog died? I lost my arm in a freak smelting accident. And somebody else will be like, really? You still have your arm? You still have your other arm? Well, good for you. Because like my entire fucking family just died on an expedition to the moon. So fuck yourself. And then someone else will be like, really? Your whole family died? Well, at least you're not like the last person from your planet. Oops, I'm an alien. Spoilers. Obviously that's exaggeration, but there's something about when someone comes out and says I'm suffering, the response is so often like, oh really, you're suffering? Well, look how much worse I'm suffering. And on the one hand, like, yeah dude, I'm sorry you're also suffering, but on the other hand, like, shut the fuck up. Let this person have a second to himself to be like, God, I'm fucking hurting right now and just need a vent, or let him hurt. This suffering, I wrote down suffering Olympics. Doesn't fucking get anybody anywhere. You know what I mean? Fucking grinds my gears. Okay. More happier things. Well, bittersweet. Due to COVID, a lot of existing businesses have been struggling, obviously. One sector in particular that's been hit incredibly hard is the restaurant, well, the bar, nightclub industry. If you're a bartender, or cocktail waitress, or whatever, I'm so sorry. I hope you're doing okay. What's a real bummer, selfishly, let's get to what's really important here, is me. Some of my favorite bars in Boston are closing. These bars have been open fucking 70 years, you know? Pilgrims and shit were drinking there. John Adams getting hammered, you know what I mean? Sam Adams, John Adams, whatever. Fucking Adams. The Adams family. And so it's a real bummer to hear that these places are closing after years and years and years. It got me thinking about some of my favorite classic Boston bars, or my old-timey bar stories. One of my favorite places of all time is a place called Daisy Buchanan's. Daisy's. It was on Newbury Street in Boston, Back Bay. And it was the greatest bar of all time. Easily. Think of, how do I describe this? Heaven. A basement room, 2 rooms. Smells a lot like urine. Total dump. But the greatest fucking place of all time. We used to go there a lot because they'd let us in when we were like 16. You'd go and you'd show your fucking pathetically fake ID, and the poor bouncer had to be like, "Really?" And you're like, "Yep, that's me. I'm from Virginia." And he's like, "All right, have a good time." One time, my friend got so drunk that he was he wasn't in a great place, but he wasn't, and it was probably time for him to go home. But obviously, we didn't think that because we were 17. So but the bouncer sort of catches him. He's being a little too flopsy. He's being a little too blah blah blah. So they're sort of dragging him outside, and so we're in the little awning there. You walk up to Daisy's. You walk down about a half flight of stairs. There's a little platform. That's the front door. Then you go in. There's another half flight down, and you're in the basement. Shocker. So we're on the little platform awning spot there. That's essentially the front door. And the inside bartender bouncer is like essentially pushing my friend out, and we're sort of trying to get him to stay. And so the 3 of us are arguing with the bouncer. And the bouncer's like, "He's out. He's got to go." And I'm like, what do you mean he's out? Like, what's he fucking doing? And no sooner had the words come out of my mouth, "What's he doing?" You know, what's he doing to get him thrown out? Like, what is your reasoning behind this? What's he doing? My friend just puked on the bouncer's shoes. Oh, golly. I don't want to embarrass him, so let's just say his name was Mike, because that's his real name. Puked on the bouncer, and I was just like, yep, I apologize. We'll see you next week. Thank you so much for having us. God, just dragged him the fuck out of there. We really liked it, A, because they let us in underage, and B, because a bunch of Red Sox players used to go there all the time and hit on all the Boston University girls and all the Northeastern girls and all the Boston College girls and all the Havant girls. And just a fucking dump. But it was my favorite place. God, I fucking love that place. Anyway, it's closed. It actually closed before COVID. I'm not sure why. I think their landlord didn't renew the lease, or maybe they got caught for 20, 30 years of letting underage people into their bar. So anyway, if you have time today, pour one out for Daisy Buchanan. It's one of the greatest places of all time. There was another place that closed. I think it was this place. I think the place was called the Poorhouse. Well, I don't know. There was a place. There was a place, a beautiful bar. You go in, they give you a beer. It's as big as your arm. Anyway, we're sitting around. We're at a table. We're at a booth, and we're just having some drinks, having some laughs. And the clock strikes midnight. Not that we're Cinderella or anything. Cinderella. Clock strikes midnight, and a waitress sort of walks around the bar, I guess, and starts putting single hot dogs in the middle of every table, every booth, every table. And I stop her and I'm like, "What's going on? What is this? We didn't order a hot dog. Also, there's 5 of us here. Why are you giving us one hot dog?" And she was like, "Well, the way our liquor license works is technically we have to be a restaurant. So to be open past midnight or 11 or whatever it was, we have to be serving food. So we have just served, air quotes, served you food. So we can continue to stay open." I was like, "Oh, okay, thanks. I'd like a hot dog." She's like, "No. Don't eat the hot dog. We reuse the hot dogs. It's an old dog. We're just putting this here for show. Do not eat this. Do not eat the hot dog." So I was like, "Okay, I'm so sorry." I ate the hot dog, obviously. Got sick. Shocker. But it was good. It was just a hot dog. Well, what do you want me to do? I'm just a man, for fuck's sake. Oh, man. What a world. I gotta tell you, it's really been bumming me out that bars and restaurants aren't open. But just gotta adapt. I think that's going to do it for this episode of the MaxBang. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. We bumped up about 10 subscribers. Your homework this week is, if you're still here, thanks so much for sticking around. Your homework this week is to suggest this MaxBang to someone else. And I hope you had a great week. We're looking forward to a great Labor Day weekend. Labor Day. And keep banging. The saga of Daisy.